Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. When the people around you start acting less like adults and more like a room full of toddlers, it's a sign. And here's the truth. The longer you play in their sandbox, the more you let their chaos dictate your life. The slower you move, the more you get dragged into their drama. Today in the rLounge, it's time for Big Kid Underpants. Up first, when your uncle actually pulls through and leaves you the house, that's when the real fun begins. Parents said I couldn't marry my fiancé unless I signed over my house, so I eloped and sold the house. My uncle passed away earlier this year. He was my dad's brother, but they weren't close. My uncle never had kids and always treated me like his own. We had a special bond. He taught me to fish, helped me with school projects, and was there for every important moment in my life. When the will was read, everyone was shocked that he left his house to me. It's a beautiful place in a great neighborhood, worth around $750,000 and completely paid off. The will specifically stated the house was to go directly to me, not through my parents or anyone else. My parents were visibly upset at the reading, but I figured they were just processing the grief. I moved in shortly after and started making the place my own. Nothing major, just painting some rooms and updating fixtures. I felt surreal having my own house at 27, especially one with such sentimental value. A few weeks after settling in, I met my now fiancé at a community cleanup event. We hit it off immediately and exchanged numbers. By our third date, things were going so well that I invited them over to see the house. They were impressed, but didn't make a big deal about it, which I appreciated. That night I mentioned how strangely my parents had been acting about the inheritance. When my parents finally visited the house, the atmosphere was tense. My mom walked through each room with a critical eye, making comments about how the house should have been their retirement nest egg. My dad inspected my renovation work, pointing out flaws and questioning my choices. During dinner, they suggested I should contribute to family finances since I got lucky with the inheritance. I reminded them that Uncle had specifically wanted me to have the house, and the conversation shifted to uncomfortable silence. As my relationship with my fiancé grew more serious, my parents invited us both to dinner at their place. The entire evening felt like an interrogation about my partner's finances and future prospects. On the drive home, my fiancé questioned if my parents were always like that about money. I admitted they'd always been financially controlling, but never this blatant. When my fiancé moved in with me, my parents showed up unannounced one weekend and found my partner's belongings throughout the house. My mother completely lost it, screaming about how I was letting someone live in what she called our family house for free. I was confused by her claim since the house was legally mine. She insisted that the house was meant to stay in the family and that my uncle should have left it to them. According to her, they deserved to benefit from family assets as my parents. A couple months later, during a weekend getaway, my fiancé proposed. I said yes. We took engagement photos in front of the house when we returned. I shared the news with my parents via group text with a photo of the ring. 2 days of complete silence followed. When they finally responded, they requested a family meeting about the wedding. I agreed to meet the following weekend, hoping they'd finally accepted my relationship. They arrived with a folder of financial planning documents. The bombshell? They announced they would only support my marriage if I signed the house over to a family trust that they were establishing. According to them, they'd always planned for my uncle's house to support their retirement. This was apparently some understanding they had, but nobody else knew about it. My fiancé remained calm while I lost my temper. I demanded to know why they thought they had any claim to my inheritance. They claimed my uncle wasn't thinking straight when he made the will and that he knew they were counting on that property. I kicked them out, making it clear that the house was mine and my uncle wanted me to have it. They left the documents behind for review. After they left, I looked through them and discovered they'd drawn up papers to transfer the house to a trust they would control, with provisions allowing them to live there or sell it as they saw fit. My name was barely mentioned except as the transferring party. That night, my fiancé suggested we elope to avoid family drama. They pointed out that our wedding should be about us, not my parents, and expressed concern that they might make a scene or try something crazy. I wasn't ready to commit to the idea yet, still hoping my parents would come around. Over the next few weeks, my parents escalated with daily texts demanding house discussions. The messages got increasingly nasty, with my mother eventually calling my fiancé a gold digger who was stealing family property. I blocked their numbers temporarily and contacted a real estate agent. A week later, I received an email from my parents' financial advisor requesting a meeting about family asset protection. They had apparently told this advisor they had a partial ownership claim on the house. I sent back a terse reply with a copy of my uncle's will showing my clear ownership and declined any meeting. That night, my fiancé and I made our decision. We secretly booked flights to a destination wedding location and listed the house with a real estate agent, with instructions to keep it quiet. We only told 2 trusted friends about our plan. We eloped in a small private ceremony. It was beautiful and intimate, exactly what we wanted without the family drama. We posted a single wedding photo to social media with the caption, "Just married," and turned off our phones for a 48-hour honeymoon at the destination. A few days later, we accepted an offer on the house for $820,000 and scheduled closing for the end of the month. When my parents found out, they showed up at the house again, threatening to contest the sale. I showed them the real estate contract and our marriage certificate. My father called me dead to the family. The closing went smoothly and we moved our belongings into storage. We decided to use a portion of the proceeds for an extended honeymoon. Before leaving, I sent my parents a final text letting them know the house was sold and that the retirement plan should have included actual saving instead of counting on someone else's property. With the money from the house, we had options we had never imagined possible. We could travel, invest, and eventually buy a new home far away from the drama. Most importantly, we could start our marriage on our own terms, without manipulation or control from my parents. It's amazing how quickly love your child gets replaced with plot to steal from them when a paycheck-sized property is involved. They treated the house like it was a communal clubhouse they'd been excluded from, rather than the literal gift from someone who actually liked you. Do you have similar parents? Share your stories with us in the comments below. Up next, a grown man with a toddler's sense of timing, responsibility, and impulse control. My 24 female boyfriend, 31 male, got trashed at a wedding where I was the maid of honor, embarrassed me and himself, proceeded to lie about some things too. About 1.5 years ago, my best friend became engaged to her now husband. I was asked to be the maid of honor and was extremely happy to do so. Over the past year, I helped her with whatever needed to be done. Throughout all of this, I talked to my boyfriend about it. He knew how happy I was for her. He knew that I had a big part in the wedding. He knew my parents would be attending the wedding. He knew everything that I knew about the wedding. He knew the day and the time, and what would be expected of him when he needed to show up. For what it's worth, I didn't talk his ear off about the wedding. I would only really talk about it if I had gone, for example, dress shopping, or something with my friend. However, last week, a couple days before the wedding, he started to act kind of weird about it. He said something along the lines of, "I know you don't want to be involved in the wedding. It will be over soon, and then you can forget all about it, and everything will be normal again." I've been nothing but happy and excited for my friend and this wedding, but he continued to act like I wasn't having fun and tried to convince me that I hated every minute of helping my friend plan her wedding. Last week, he continued talking about the wedding like it was something awful and stupid. He treated it as an annoying chore we had to do. He complained about having to go. He even asked me after the rehearsal dinner if he could just not go to the wedding at all. Keep in mind, I had already SVP'd for both of us. My parents were expecting him. He just dropped that on me as we were going to bed before the wedding day. He also never expressed his congratulations towards the bride or groom at any point. The day of the wedding was this past Saturday. I told my boyfriend what time he needed to show up. Lately, he had been notoriously late for everything, like several hours late to anything he's invited to. He's late because he is hanging out with one of his friends, smoking weed and playing video games, and he ends up losing track of time. I didn't want him to be late to my best friend's wedding, so I basically told him he needed to be there 3 hours earlier than what was necessary. I told him he needed to be there at 1 p.m., when in reality he needed to be there before 4:30. He showed up around 4:30. He got there right as cocktail hour started and got drunk. I was told by someone else that he was pounding back the beers as soon as the bartender started to serve alcohol. Then he sat with my parents and told my mom, "If I didn't come to this thing, EOP would have killed me." Once the bride and groom were announced, Mr. and Mrs. X, my boyfriend loudly cheered and loudly clapped as everyone else did, a normal clap. It wasn't a very big wedding, so it was weird and awkward when he did this. It stood out a lot, and was obvious that he was already inebriated. Multiple people looked over at him in a what the F way. I felt awful and embarrassed when this happened. After all the photos were taken, he found me and told me that his work called and they needed to go in ASAP. Before the wedding, he assured me that he had taken the day off and that his work, he's a bartender, knew he would be at a wedding that day. I knew he was lying to me, but I didn't care at that point. He left, Ubered, to supposedly go to work. When I finally got home around 2 a.m., he told me that it turned out that work didn't actually need him and he forgot the name of the venue, so he couldn't Uber back to it, and that his phone was acting weird and couldn't get a text message to be sent to me. He told me how he really wanted to come back to the reception, but he just couldn't make it happen. Obviously, those were all lies. I feel like his behavior was just abhorrent. I'm so pissed off at him right now. I'm looking at him in a new negative light, and I can't stop thinking about how awful he was throughout the whole wedding event. I know some people act weird about weddings sometimes, but this takes the effing cake. Is there any coming back from this? I feel like I'm always going to be pissed off about what happened. I don't know if I can forgive him. I thought about ending it with him because of this. I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. I don't think he has any intentions on apologizing. We haven't talked about the wedding that much since the past Saturday. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong. What do I do? Am I crazy to think his actions are god-awful? Ask an opinion and we'll get some feedback from the relevant comments. First, girl, he sounds like a toddler. You're a girlfriend, not a mother. Why are you putting up with this? The OP replies, honestly, I don't know. We've been together for about 4 years now and he wasn't always this bad. But I've noticed his behavior has gone downhill over the past year. He's cut back hours on work and makes just enough money to make ends meet. He just wants to hang out with his friends who don't have jobs. He smokes for free with them. I think this may be the last straw though. I'm going to have to end it with him. It just sucks because he wasn't always this bad. Another commenter chimes in, consider that he was always like this, but you're growing up and maturing where he hasn't. 4 years puts you guys at 27 and 20. Might be that you just don't notice because you have different priorities. The OP replies, this is a strong possibility. When we met, I was in college, and like a lot of college students, I went out and partied a lot. I had fun and stayed up super late. But now I'm working full-time and going to grad school part-time. I want to be successful in the future. He has basically stayed the same these past 4 years. He always talked about going back to school and finishing his degree or doing something else with his life. He just hasn't done anything with himself. I don't think I really saw that or cared when we met, and I was only 20. The next person asks, how long have you been dating? Have you two discussed marriage? His behavior was horrendous. I don't know if I would forgive it. My guess is that he saw you all happy about the wedding, doesn't want to commit, got scared you would now expect a proposal, and deliberately sabotaged everything because he is a giant, immature douche canoe. The OP replies, we've been together for about 4 years. We've talked about marriage. He has brought it up in the past and mentioned that it would be great if we got married one day. I've told him I wanted to wait until after I finished grad school and we moved into a house first. However, I'm rethinking our entire relationship now. After reading a few responses here, I feel like I probably won't be able to forgive him after this. And someone else says, what is the benefit of staying with this guy? He sounds awful. I was really surprised to see that he is my age and not also in his early 20s. My boyfriend hates weddings and big parties and a lot of traditions, but he just lets me know. He is GAD, so I get it. We have agreements about which ones are mandatory and which ones he can skip. He doesn't pull weird manipulations like this. I don't think I could be with someone who jerked me around and lied like that. And he is 31 years old. That is too old for this crap, in my opinion. How do you guys even communicate? Mutual affection and respect? My advice is to cut your losses. It will hurt, but I bet you will feel relieved after a while of not having this anchor around your neck. Find someone worth it. The OP replies, this was the first time he pulled this much crap to get out of an obligation. Before now, he has been okay going with me to various friends or family events. This also wasn't our first wedding together either. His aunt got remarried last year, and he didn't freak out then. And in the past, he's told me straight up that if he didn't want to go to one of my friends' parties or something, and he stayed at home, and it was fine. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like it did. I was wanting to create a throwaway account so my post wouldn't be that noticeable. Oh well, my boyfriend uses Reddit, but I don't think he goes into the relationship subreddits at all. Anyway, I've tried most of the comments here, and I've been thinking about what you all have said. It's basically confirmed that I need to end things with him. I actually tried to end things with him a couple of hours ago. He doesn't seem to be accepting the breakup. He started to apologize to me about what happened and how he'll try to be better. I'm currently at a friend's house for the night. I brought some things with me that should last a couple of days, but I'm really not sure what else to do. Both our names are on the lease, and he's still at the apartment for all I know. Thank you for all the help. Reading through the comments basically told me everything I already knew and confirmed for me what I need to dump his butt. I'll try to post an update in a couple of days. As of now, he doesn't seem to want to leave the apartment, so we'll see what happens. Update, 9 days later. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. It gave me a lot to think about and confirmed things for me that I wasn't ready to admit to myself. Second, there were some freaking comments about my ex I wanted to clear up. Some people thought he had anxiety around weddings or people he didn't know. He knew the bride and groom very well, as we used to go on double dates a lot. He's even spent some one-on-one time with the groom. He knew a lot of other people at the wedding. He only sat with my parents because my parents didn't really know anyone else besides the bride and a couple of my other friends who were bridesmaids and were part of the wedding in some way. He is a social butterfly and has been to more weddings than me. He's even gone solo to a couple of weddings he was invited to, no +1, for former co-workers, while we were together. Many people suggested he had a crush on the bride. I can't confirm this, but I'm leaning towards no. It's possible, of course. Doesn't matter at this point. All I can really say is there are complete opposites, have very little in common, and he would consider her not his type. This is not an insult to the bride. She is a beautiful person for what it's worth. And I am considered his type. Again, he may have had feelings for her, but if he did it, I never picked up on it. After I initially tried to end it with him, he texted, called, DM'd me, and basically any means of communication possible to get my attention. He started by apologizing profusely and asked to give him another chance. I didn't respond to all of this because I didn't know what to say. I turned off my phone before I went to sleep and woke up with an F-ton of voicemail and messages. He sounded extremely angry in some of them, called me names, told me he hated me, said the classic line of, "You'll never do better than me." Some of the last messages he sent were him apologizing for the messages he left throughout the night because he was drunk and that it didn't count. Whatever. The apartment issue has been a nightmare. It's going to be extremely expensive to get out of the lease and only have his name in it. Apparently they need both of our signatures in order for this to happen, and I'll need to pay a fee. The only communication I've had with my ex is to ask him to sign the new leasing agreement, which he refuses to do. I still had to pay for rent in March. The lease isn't up for several more months. I can't afford to pay 2 rents at once. I did manage to get my stuff out. I called up the bar he works for and talked to one of the women there I felt comfortable with. I told her my situation and asked if she could call me the next time he showed up for his shift so I could get my things. I had a bunch of my friends come to the apartment with boxes and plastic tubs and got most of my stuff. Unfortunately, my TV, it's huge, sofa, and a couple of other larger things couldn't be grabbed, but I got everything important. When he found out I took all of my stuff, the text messages and voicemails began again, where he spewed more vitriol at me and demanding me to come home immediately. The next, he started sending me apology messages and also told me in a message that he's willing to forgive me and move on from this mess. My current challenges are trying to find a place to live for the next few months and what to do about the current lease with both our names. I have friends that understand my situation and are allowing me to couch surf for a bit, but it's not a permanent solution. I'm still trying to figure out how to get out of this lease, but the apartment management has been difficult. I'm not totally convinced that they need both signatures, but that's what they keep stressing. The worst case scenario is that I have to quit my job and live with my parents for a bit. They are an hour away, and drive an hour to class a few times a week until the semester is over. This guy isn't just bad at weddings. He's a fully grown man who peaked at toddler-level dysfunction and somehow convinced himself it was charming. And the lease drama? Classic him, unable to act like an adult in even the simplest logistical situation, expecting you to bail him out while he throws a tantrum. You're not overreacting. The only shocking part is that you lasted 4 years in this circus. Do you know someone like this? Let us know in the comments. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time. And please put your chair back where you found it.